Yuemian spread his colossal wings and surged skyward, piercing the clouds in a blink. Yet he did not slow, climbing ever higher as the world's origin chi thinned to near nothingness. "Hold on tight," he warned. At once, countless azure incantation seals burst from his talons and revolved about him. His speed exploded 100-fold, turning the heavens into a streaking blur. Hanli was nearly flung from his back by the sudden acceleration and hurriedly circulated his cultivation to steady himself. Moments later, Yuemian broke through an unseen boundary and entered a strange realm. Before them stretched a vast blue expanse, pristine and empty, without cloud or mote of dust. Yet this purity concealed absolute barrenness. No world's origin chi, no energy of any kind, only boundless nothingness. Never before had Hanli soared so high, and the sight left him quietly awed. "What place is this? I've never been here," Jintong muttered, gazing about in a daze. "This is the ethersphere," Xiaobai replied. "The ethersphere?" Hanli asked. "My father's memories say the skies of the true Immortal Realm are divided into 3 layers. The ethersphere, the astral sphere, and the extra heaven sphere. This is the lowest. Beyond it lies the astral sphere, and above that the legendary extra heaven sphere, also called the extra heaven realm," Xiaobai explained. Hanli nodded in thought. Xiaobai continued, "All 3 are perilous. The ethersphere has no spiritual chi at all. Linger too long, and even immortals suffer grave harm. Ordinary cultivators would never come here, so records are scarce." With Hanli's cultivation, reaching this place was not difficult, but he had been consumed by seclusion and evading the heavenly court, leaving such realms unexplored. Jintong sat beside him, frowning at the oppressive emptiness. "Are you all right?" Hanli asked. "I'm fine. It's just unsettling without any spiritual chi," she replied. "Then rest in the flower branch domain," Hanli suggested. She agreed, and he sent her away as Yuemian continued climbing. The ethersphere was astonishingly vast, even at Yuemian's speed. Nearly an hour passed before its end. Ahead, ferocious black storms surged and roared through the air. "The astral sphere?" Hanli asked. "It should be. The astral sphere is filled with heavenly astral wind, dangerous and inhospitable, though still gentler than the extra heaven sphere," Xiaobai answered. Before his words faded, Yuemian plunged straight into the storms. The howling grew deafening, pain throbbing in Hanli's ears as he hastily invoked his Time Law to protect himself. White light also rose around Xiaobai. Savage gales clawed at Yuemian, yet an azure barrier wrapped his body, holding the winds at bay as he sped on unimpeded. Hanli's worries eased as he watched Yuemian advance with effortless dominance. These storms were unlike anything Hanli had known, violent beyond measure, as though bent on erasing all existence. Thin black lines flickered within them, easily tearing open spatial rifts, yet even these could not breach Yuemian's barrier. Suddenly, Xiaobai's eyes gleamed. He raised a hand, summoning the white cloth pouch bonded to his father. It swelled tenfold as a ring of white light bloomed at its mouth, releasing a terrifying suction. Heavenly astral wind within hundreds of kilometers was swallowed instantly. Along with the black lines hidden inside it, the pouch flew onward like a ravenous beast, devouring everything in its path. "Why gather the astral wind?" Hanli asked. "I'm after those black lines, black whitewash wind," Xiaobai replied. "They form only after millions of years of condensed astral wind. My father left a secret art to refine them into windbreaker beads, treasures that can threaten even great encompassment cultivators. Since we're here, I won't waste the chance." Hanli nodded, eyeing the pouch with interest. When he had reflexively probed it with his spiritual sense, it had been instantly sucked in and erased. Plain as it looked, the pouch was terrifyingly profound. Soon they reached the end of the astral sphere. Yuemian tore open a massive spatial rift with his talons and flew through. Hanli's vision blurred, and he emerged into pitch-black space. Countless asteroids drifted there, some no larger than houses, others so vast their edges vanished into darkness, moving erratically and colliding with thunderous crashes. Some were dull and lifeless, others glowed with many colors, faintly lighting the void. A colossal storm of blue ice soon swept past like a titanic frost dragon, freezing small asteroids solid and coating larger ones in thick ice. It had barely passed when a vast purple cloud appeared, crackling with lightning that shattered the frozen bodies on contact. Then a giant black vortex spun into existence. devouring everything nearby before vanishing as abruptly as it came. This was the extra heaven sphere. Han Li felt swallowed by endless darkness, his senses reaching only a short distance. Here pulsed a power countless times greater than the revolutions of the celestial bodies themselves. The extra heaven sphere is deadly, but it also hides endless treasures, Yomian said, now flying forward instead of upward. At your levels, you can endure it. Visit often. It will greatly benefit your cultivation. There truly are many treasures, Xiaobai said excitedly, assuming his Pixiu form and sniffing the air. He summoned the pouch again, releasing a ball of white light into it. The pouch swelled to hundreds of kilometers, turning semi-transparent as its threads spread into a vast net. Immense suction roared forth, devouring asteroids and crushing them into brilliant ores of every hue. In moments, hundreds of precious materials were gathered, deepening Han Li's curiosity. Fellow Taoist Han, Yuemian said calmly, even at the great encompassment stage, you know little of Tao ancestors. Their power is beyond imagination. At lower altitudes, other Tao ancestors might sense us. Travelling through the extra heaven sphere is far safer. Han Li nodded in silence. Yuemian surged onward as azure ripples radiated from him. They appeared unremarkable, yet carried boundless might. Any asteroid they touched, regardless of size, was instantly vaporized. All natural calamities here vanished upon contact with his body. Han Li had seen peak great encompassment cultivators before, but now it became clear, though only one step from Tao ancestors, that single step was an abyss without end. Han Li slowly exhaled, folded his legs, and sank into meditation as his cultivation art circulated through his meridians. The extra heaven sphere was fraught with lethal dangers, yet it brimmed with dense and pure world's origin qi, making it a rare and precious ground for cultivation. Nearby, Xiaobai busied himself, scooping scattered chunks of ore into his white pouch without pause. Nearly 2 hours slipped by unnoticed. Suddenly the world ahead dimmed as though night had fallen without warning. Startled, Han Li emerged from his meditative state to see a vast black cloud rolling toward them. It churned endlessly, shadows flickering within like living things, exuding a sinister and unsettling aura. "What's that?" Xiaobai asked, halting his work in alarm. "A heavenly devil cloud formed by extra-realm heavenly devils," Yuoqing warned grimly. "It has no substance and cannot be destroyed. It's the most dangerous hazard here. Be extremely cautious, especially you, fellow Taoist Han." With that, she plunged straight into the black cloud. An icy chill washed over Han Li, as though he'd been dunked into freezing water. Darkness swallowed everything, so thick that even Xiaobai's figure became barely discernible despite standing close by. Han Li immediately activated his Time Law powers to shield himself, but at that instant an invisible fluctuation surged from the darkness and engulfed him. Before he could react, the surroundings shifted violently. When his vision cleared, he found himself alone within a dim, grey void. Raising an eyebrow, Han Li circulated his spirit refinement technique, a cool clarity blooming within his mind. Just then, a black-robed young woman stumbled toward him. It was Nangong Wan. Her hair was dishevelled, her face pale with terror, as if fleeing from some unspeakable threat. "Save me, my husband!" she cried hysterically, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I've regained my memories, but the people of the Reincarnation Palace refuse to let me leave." Han Li calmly glanced around. "It doesn't seem like anyone is chasing you. I'm terrified." Nangong Wan sobbed as she rushed forward and threw herself at him like a drowning person grasping for life. A strange glint flashed through Han Li's eyes. Just as she was about to fall into his arms, he raised a hand and unleashed a thick bolt of golden lightning. It pierced straight through her chest, leaving a gaping hole. "How could you?" she gasped in disbelief, blood pouring from her mouth. "This illusion is indeed convincing," Han Li replied coldly, "but it won't deceive me." He spread his fingers and the golden lightning exploded outward, shredding her body to pieces. A shrill howl echoed as Nangong Wan dissolved into black smoke. The grey space collapsed, and Han Li reappeared atop Yomian's back. He sighed inwardly in relief, but his brows quickly knit together. Though he had dispelled the illusion, the wicked corpse soul within him began to stir violently. Bloodlust and killing intent surged uncontrollably through his heart. He hurriedly invoked his spiritual sense and the great five elemental illusion mantra to suppress the rising madness. So these extra-realm heavenly devils can affect my wicked corpse soul. No wonder Yuemian warned me. Before the ill intent could be fully restrained, another invisible fluctuation swept over him. This time he was drawn into a violet-hued space where an elegant figure stood with her back to him. Even without seeing her face, Han Li instantly recognized Violet's spirit. His eyes hardened. With a flick of his sleeve, a bolt of golden lightning roared forth and struck toward her. Violet's spirit vanished in an instant, reappearing hundreds of feet away. "Brother Han, what is the meaning of this?" she cried, turning to face him with shock and anger. Han Li did not respond. He swept his sleeve repeatedly, unleashing intertwining arcs of golden lightning that formed an enormous net, sealing off the surrounding area for dozens of kilometers. The lightning net descended with terrifying speed, enough to overwhelm even a great encompassment cultivator. Violet's spirit narrowly escaped again, teleporting beyond its reach, but this time her right arm was grazed. Her sleeve was torn apart, and a deep, bloody gash appeared on her arm. "So, you truly mean to kill me?" she said bitterly, tears filling her eyes. "I endured countless hardships in cultivation just to ascend to the Immortal Realm and stand by your side. Was it all for this?" Though he knew she was an illusion, guilt and sorrow tugged at Han Li's heart. Still, his resolve did not waver. He summoned the mantra Treasured Axis, golden ripples spreading out to bind Violet's spirit in place. With a forceful grasp, the lightning net converged, forming a sphere of crackling golden light around her. A thunderous explosion rang out, and Violet's spirit vanished completely. The violet world dissolved, and Han Li returned once more to Yuemian's back. His face was pale, and the murderous intent within him had grown even stronger. Before he could recover, an even more powerful wave of heavenly devil fluctuations engulfed him. This time he was transported into a radiant golden realm saturated with immense metal law power, utterly real. Ahead stood a towering golden figure, the Nine Origins Dao ancestor, Li Yuanju, his oppressive aura pressed down like the weight of countless mountains. "Han Li," Li Yuanju thundered, "you trespassed upon the forbidden grounds of my Nine Origins temple, injured our holy envoys, and aided the Reincarnation Palace in stealing our treasured artifact. I intended to spare you and sever our karmic ties, but the temple has rejected that mercy. Today I take your life." With a hand seal, a divine golden saber over 10,000 feet long materialized and cleaved downward. The golden space itself split apart, and Han Li's pupils shrank. He poured all his strength into the great five elemental illusion mantra and spirit refinement technique, tearing free from the crushing pressure. Immediately, he hurled a mighty punch into the descending blade. A deafening clang rang out as the saber was knocked back and shattered into countless golden fragments. Han Li's fist was flayed to the bone, but he ignored the injury entirely. Li Yuanju sneered and swept his sleeves. Countless golden sword projections appeared overhead, raining down in a cataclysmic storm that riddled the space below with holes. Han Li charged straight through the storm, his body pierced through again and again, yet he did not slow. Li Yuanju struck down with his palm, causing the entire golden world to collapse upon Han Li. At that instant, radiant golden light erupted from Han Li's body. Overwhelming time law power flooded the realm, slowing everything to a crawl. His speed surged dozens of times over, and he shot forward like a divine arrow, piercing straight through Li Yuanju. Li Yuanju exploded, and the golden world crumbled. Han Li returned to reality, all wounds gone, but the ill intent within him had crossed a critical threshold and could no longer be suppressed. He struggled desperately to maintain control, but his efforts were failing. Just then, Yu Miaomian finally emerged from the heavenly devil cloud, preventing the murderous intent from worsening and allowing Han Li to barely keep his sanity. Had they remained within the cloud any longer, he would have been consumed by madness. Nearby, Xiaobai also opened his eyes, fear and relief mingling across his face. "Are you two unharmed?" Yuemian asked calmly. "We're fine, but that was far too close," Xiaobai exhaled. "Each illusion grew more terrifying than the last. If you hadn't burst out of the cloud when you did, I don't think I could have held myself together much longer." That is precisely why heavenly devil clouds are the deadliest hazards in the entire extra heaven sphere. Yu Mian replied. The one we encountered was relatively small. Had it been any larger, even I wouldn't have been able to escape so swiftly. In that case, I'm staying out of the extra heaven sphere for the foreseeable future, Xiaobai said with lingering fear. Even if my cultivation slows, at least it'll be safer. Master, how are you holding up? Han Li sat silently with eyes closed, brows faintly knitted, a sinister aura coiled around his body. When he finally opened his eyes, a dim crimson glow flickered within them. Master, your eyes! Xiaobai shouted in alarm. Have you been possessed by an extra-realm heavenly devil? Get out of my master's body! It's nothing of the sort, Han Li said evenly. I was only affected, not possessed. Xiaobai still looked doubtful. Impressive, Yu Mian said with a faint smile. Given your condition, I expected the extra-realm heavenly devils to breach your mind. Still, I assume the malice in your heart is difficult to restrain. That's correct, Senior, Han Li admitted. The ill intent neither grew nor diminished, yet no matter how he tried, it refused to be suppressed. The three corpse souls are deeply bound to one's psyche, Yu Mian continued. You forcibly summoned your wicked corpse soul without reaching the peak of early great encompassment, and though you've restrained it for now, the influence of the heavenly devil cloud will eventually loosen that seal. You must sever it as soon as possible, or it will overtake your body. Han Li's expression darkened. He knew this well, yet his cultivation base made successful severance exceedingly uncertain. Yue Mian said no more. After flying for nearly half a day, he descended through the astral sphere and ether sphere, finally alighting upon a lush mountain range within the vast primordial land. Before long, the imposing 8 Plains mountain came into view. Han Li was inwardly stunned. What had taken him decades to traverse had taken Yue Mian less than a day. Suddenly, Han Li leapt down and clasped his fists. Thank you for escorting me back, Senior Yu. However, as a human, I doubt I'd be welcome on 8 Plains mountain. We should part ways here. Yue Mian returned to human form in a flash of azure light. As you wish. At that moment, Baize appeared with a hearty grin. That won't do! Turning you away at our doorstep would shame the primordial tribes. Senior Baize, Han Li greeted respectfully, Xiaobai following suit. You caused quite a stir in the Nine Origins temple, Baize laughed. Seeing someone like Liuanju stumble isn't an everyday sight. Of course! Master and I were unstoppable, Xiaobai boasted. We chased off 2 holy envoys. The reincarnation palace bore the brunt of it, Han Li said modestly. I was merely fortunate. Even so, escaping unscathed is no small feat, Baize praised. You were at high zenith when you left, yet now you're approaching mid-great encompassment. Even I didn't advance so quickly back then. You flatter me, Senior, Han Li replied. Still as humble as ever, Baize smiled. Thank you for safeguarding Xiaobai. He's my friend, Han Li said. Besides, our safe return was thanks to Senior Yu. Come, rest on 8 Plains mountain, Baize invited. I must decline, Han Li said apologetically. My condition is precarious. I need immediate seclusion. Baize studied him, surprise flashing in his eyes. I see. 150,000 kilometers east lies the Jade Cloud Mountain Range. It's rich in origin chi and unclaimed. You may cultivate there. Delight flickered across Han Li's face. My thanks, Senior Bai. I'll go with you, Master, Xiaobai pleaded. No, Baize said firmly. Your path is already arranged. You stay? Fine. Xiaobai muttered. Han Li bid farewell and departed as a streak of golden light. Soon after, Baize and Yue Mian returned to 8 Plains Mountain. Han Li quickly reached the Jade Cloud Mountain Range. As promised, the origin chi there was abundant yet stable, ideal for seclusion. He carved a simple cave abode, set restrictions, then entered the Flower Branch domain. Weeping Soul and Jintong awaited him. You know what happened in the Heavenly Devil Cloud, Han Li said, sitting cross-legged. Help me suppress the ill intent. Weeping Soul pressed a palm to his head, forming a dark red barrier. Han Li groaned as immortal acupoints flared and black baleful chi surged forth, dissolving against the barrier with a hiss. Yet the chi poured out endlessly. Jintong stood nearby, tense and silent. 3 days and nights passed without improvement. Jintong grew increasingly anxious but held her tongue. Suddenly Han Li opened his eyes. That's enough. Weeping Soul withdrew, hesitating. Master, the ill intent feels different. So you sensed it too, Han Li said, stopping Jintong before she spoke. Peaceful resolution was no longer possible. He had to sever his corpse soul in advance, no matter the risk. With no guidance to rely on, he would have to proceed blindly. "I'll enter accelerated seclusion," Hanli said. "Focus on your own cultivation. Someday we'll return to the immortal regions, and strength will decide everything." He expanded his spirit domain, activating the mantra Treasured Axis and Celestial Time Array. Time surged forward, 10,000-fold. Though worried, Weeping Soul and Jintong sat beside him and began cultivating. Knowing this path was one Han Li had to walk alone, Han Li did not rush into cultivation right away. Instead, he first placed all the precious treasures and materials seized from Gui Lingzi's cave abode onto the Reincarnation Palace marketplace. His supply of immortal origin stones was running dangerously low, and replenishing them was imperative. Fortunately, the harvest from Gui Lingzi proved more than sufficient to sustain him for the foreseeable future. Only after settling these matters did Han Li sit down, eyes closed, circulating the great 5 elemental illusion mantra as he resumed the task of opening his remaining immortal acupoints. Yet, before long, his eyes snapped open in surprise. The process was unfolding with astonishing ease, utterly unlike his past cultivation experiences. At this pace, opening a single immortal acupoint would take merely a few years, an almost negligible span with this accelerated time flow. He briefly wondered whether this smooth progress stemmed from his remaining acupoints already being half opened when his wicked corpse soul had been forcibly drawn out. Shaking off the thought, he steadied his mind and returned to cultivation. More than 10 years passed in a blink. Suddenly, an immortal acupoint flared open upon his shoulder. Joy flickered across his face, only to be swiftly replaced by unease. This breakthrough had strengthened not only him, but also his wicked corpse soul. The origin separation law chains binding it were pried open ever so slightly, and the baleful chi coiling around Han Li thickened ominously. "Your struggles are meaningless," the wicked corpse soul laughed. "The stronger you become, the stronger I grow. One day I will shatter this seal, and your body will be mine." Han Li ignored the taunts, closed his eyes and pressed onward. 30,000 years slipped past like drifting clouds. When Han Li finally opened his eyes again, his body was studded with 839 shimmering golden points. His aura had surged to nearly twice its former strength, rivaling that of mid-great encompassment figures such as Immortal Lord Miaofa and Gui Lingzi. Yet the baleful chi surrounding him had grown denser still, and a sinister black rune shaped like a leering face had appeared upon his glabella, flickering as though it might crawl free at any moment. As the golden light faded, his eyes revealed a chilling sight. Half of each glowed with deranged dark red madness, while the other halves remained calm and clear. Despite this, elation flashed through his gaze. This seclusion had gone far more smoothly than expected, and only one immortal acupoint now stood between him and the mid-great encompassment stage. Yet he knew the danger. He was not truly ready for corpse soul severance, but the urgency of his condition allowed no delay. Without his formidable spiritual sense and iron will, the accumulated ill intent would have long since driven him insane. Sensing his awakening, Jintong and Weeping Soul halted their own cultivation to check on him. Though 30,000 years was not long for them, their constant worry had hindered their progress. "Are you all right, Uncle?" Jintong asked, eyes fixed on the roiling, baleful chi. "For now," Han Li replied evenly. "Are you planning to begin the corpse soul severance?" Weeping Soul asked. "That is my intent, but preparations are still required," Han Li answered, falling briefly silent. After a moment, he withdrew his spirit domain and instructed them to stand guard outside while he made ready. Once they departed, Han Li donned his Reincarnation Palace mask and reopened the trading interface. Long ago, he had issued a mission seeking methods or insights for severing a wicked corpse soul at the early Great Encompassment stage, offering staggering rewards: immortal origin stones, rare treasures, time Dao pills, cultivation arts, even the 5 lightning true mantra. Yet there were still no responses. Han Li sighed softly, unsurprised. Corpse soul severance was the greatest hurdle for great encompassment cultivators, deeply tied to personal attachments and impossible to standardize. Though some techniques existed across the eons, they were priceless secrets no one would part with lightly. His mission had been a slim gamble, and it had failed. Only one path remained. He summoned the heaven-controlling vial, intending to expend his time law threads to transmigrate into the past and seek guidance from Patriarch Miro. But no matter how he called to the vile spirit, there was no reply. His heart sank. Without the spirit's aid, precise transmigration was impossible, and proceeding without a corpse soul severance technique would drastically lower his chances. At that moment, a voice transmission talisman flew into the flower branch domain. Hanli crushed it, and Weeping Soul's voice rang out. A woman named Liu Leia had arrived, claiming acquaintance. "Let her in," Hanli replied. Moments later, he emerged into the hall to find Jintong, Weeping Soul, and Liu Leia waiting. Her cultivation had advanced greatly, and like him, she stood on the threshold of mid-great encompassment. She paused upon seeing his appearance, then joyfully threw herself into his arms. "You're finally back, Brother Rock!" Under the accusing gazes of Jintong and Weeping Soul, Hanli could only smile awkwardly as they quietly withdrew. Liu Leia explained she had come straight from Eight Plains Mountain after Bab-Izeh informed her of his return. Warmth welled in Hanli's heart, easing the dark, ill intent within him. She urged him to stay in the primordial land, free from heavenly court pursuit, but Hanli sighed, explaining he still had unfinished matters beyond it. Though disappointed, she accepted this, asking only that he visit often. Concern soon clouded her expression as she noticed his eyes and sensed the ill intent. Hanli reassured her, explaining his ongoing corpse soul severance, and downplaying the danger. Liu Leia cautioned him about progressing too quickly and the perils of inadequate insight at the great encompassment stage, especially when severing a corpse soul. Hanli nodded in agreement. "You've always cultivated alone without a master," she asked softly. "Do you truly have a suitable corpse soul severance technique?" "I fear not. I have searched for one for countless years, yet all has come to nothing." Hanli sighed, shaking his head lightly. "That's disastrous. Without a corpse soul severance technique, the odds of success are vanishingly small," Liu Leia said anxiously. "Even so, I must attempt it, otherwise there will be no chance at all," Hanli replied with a faint, resolute smile. Liu Leia glanced around, then flipped her wrist and produced a jade slip, swiftly pressing it into Hanli's palm as she transmitted her voice. "I'm close to the peak of early great encompassment. Chief Liu Qing recently granted me a corpse soul severance technique. Take a copy, Brother Rock. Perhaps it will suit you." "Leia, this is far too precious. If the Heavenly Fox tribe learns of this, who knows what punishment you'll face?" Hanli exclaimed, hurriedly trying to return the jade slip. "You matter greatly to me. It's not as if I'd give this to just anyone," Liu Leia said with a gentle smile. "As long as we keep silent, the tribe won't know. Even if they do, I carry the nine-tailed immortal fox's true spirit bloodline. I am the tribe's future. They won't dare act against me." Hanli hesitated, then finally nodded. "Very well, I accept. I can't remain at Eight Plains Mountain for long. This visit was only allowed by His Majesty's special permission," Liu Leia said reluctantly. "When you return to the primordial land one day, you must come see me." Hanli nodded. Liu Leia cast him one last lingering glance, then transformed into a streak of grey light and vanished from the cave abode. Once she had gone, Hanli immediately examined the jade slip. The first thing that met his eyes was a title, Avatar Corpse Soul Severance Technique. Understanding dawned at once, yet he did not linger on the name, reading on intently. The contents were brief, and he soon finished them, his eyes growing brighter with each line. In essence, the technique required refining an avatar bound by a deep spiritual link. Through that connection, one would transfer the wicked corpse soul into the avatar and sever it away. The three corpse souls were inherently bound to the cultivator, which was why severance was so difficult. This method focused on transferring the souls out of the body first, sealing them within avatars. Once removed, the bond weakened greatly, making severance far easier. There were two requirements. First, the cultivator needed an exceptionally powerful soul to endure the strain of extraction. Second, the avatar had to be highly compatible, with older avatars offering higher chances of success. Hanli withdrew his spiritual sense, a faint smile forming. This technique seemed crafted for him alone. His spirit refinement technique had long tempered his soul beyond that of ordinary early great encompassment cultivators, and his earthly deity avatar still resided in the Black Wind Sea. Having been separated for so many years, he had nearly forgotten it, never imagining it would prove useful in this way. With the ill intent gnawing relentlessly at his soul, there was no time to delay. He summoned Jintong and Weeping Soul to dismantle the arrays in the cave abode, then prepared to depart for the northern glacial immortal region. Before leaving, he travelled several hundred kilometres to Eight Plains Mountain and offered a respectful salute from afar. Baizé appeared in a flash of white light, smiling. "Leaving so soon, fellow Taoist Han? I have urgent matters to attend to. I came to bid farewell and thank you for your hospitality, Senior Baizé." Hunley replied, "There's no need. The ill intent within you has become pressing. This journey cannot wait," Baizé said knowingly. Hunley nodded solemnly. "I am not fully confident I can overcome this ordeal. If I fail, I ask that you look after Xiaobai and Liu Lair of the Heavenly Fox tribe." "I would do so regardless," Baizé said. "Where do you intend to go?" Hunley frowned slightly. "Do not misunderstand," Baizé added with a smile. "Yue Mian possesses a sky-roaming ability. If your destination is not too distant, he can take you there far faster than you could travel yourself." Realization dawned on Han Li. He clasped his fists apologetically. "My apologies, Senior. I wish to go to the northern glacial immortal region." "That is not far, Yue Mian. Can you take him?" Baizé asked. Yue Mian appeared instantly. "Of course. Fellow Taoist Han is currently wanted by the Heavenly Court. Travelling openly would be troublesome," Baizé said. "My thanks, Senior Baizé, Senior Yue Mian," Han Li said gratefully. "Enough of this human politeness," Yue Mian snorted. With a sweep of his sleeve, an azure light burst forth, forming a semi-transparent bird nearly 100 feet long. It swooped down and swallowed Han Li whole in an instant, then tore open a spatial rift and vanished. By the time Han Li grasped what had happened, the bird was already racing through raging spatial turbulence. Cloud-like spirit patterns and flowing azure runes covered its body, exuding formidable law power that cleaved through space effortlessly. Within the bird's belly, a tremendous force held Han Li firmly in place. Calm and curious, he observed his surroundings. The speed was astonishing, countless times faster than his own. Roughly 30 hours later, the bird burst out of space above a lush forest, dissolving into streams of azure light. Han Li stabilized himself mid-air, swept his spiritual sense across the land, and smiled with delight before flying off as a streak of golden light. Soon he arrived at Bright Hill City. Though he had never been here, he remembered hearing of it when travelling from the Black Wind Sea toward the Blaze Dragon Dao, a city upon the primordial wave continent. Standing there, awe filled his heart at the unfathomable might of Dao ancestors. A journey that might have taken him a century had been completed in just over a day. Han Li bowed gratefully toward Eight Plains Mountain, then set off toward the Black Wind Sea. Northern Glacial Immortal Region. Black Wind Sea. Streaks of light crisscrossed the skies above a vast blue ocean, converging on a verdant island. Surrounding it were floating island arrays, forming a magnificent chain of 7 islands. At the island's centre stood a colossal statue, arms spread wide like a god welcoming its followers. Hundreds of thousands of residents gathered upon a white stone plaza, dispersing after their morning prayers. Some glanced briefly at the lights overhead before losing interest. Most did not even look, long accustomed to such sights. Among them was an elderly man with white hair and dark skin, proudly holding a little boy's hand. "See that, Tiger?" he said with a grin. "Thanks to our ancestral god, dozens of nearby islands bow to Dark Vale Island. Their chiefs come here to pay respect every year. Impressive, isn't it?"